You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. LSU had practice on Saturday in fall camp. They're back on the practice field Monday, but in between the two, LSU landed another massive commitment for the class of 2026, and this one was probably a bit of a surprise. Deuce Geralds, the top 100 defensive lineman out of the state of Georgia, picked LSU over Oregon, Ole Miss. Michigan and Ohio State also had hats on the table. But when we talked to Shea Dixon early last week, the feeling was in the industry that Geralds was leaning towards Oregon. Well, I got a call late last week, a Thursday morning, and it was pretty apparent that the feeling around LSU was that they were about to get a double dose of good news on the recruiting trail. Darius McKinley was the first obvious one, and that happened. But that wasn't a great surprise. Darius McKinley was thought to be a heavy lean toward LSU. His brother's on the team. He's from Acadiana, all that sort of stuff. Geralds was surprising. Now, there's three things that have to line up to land a player like Deuce Geralds. I'm going to get to those in just a second, like the tripod of things that had to align for this to happen. I'm going to get to that in a second. But if you're not familiar, let me give you the bio real quick on Geralds. So he's out of Georgia, 6'1", 268. He is a high four-star. In the consensus, in the composite, he is the number 93 player in the country, the 8th best defensive lineman. ESPN ranks him the 40th overall player and the 2nd best defensive lineman in the country. And I can hear you saying, Matt, you always say I don't care about the roster, the rating, or the ranking. I care more about who has the offers. That's what people always say. That they say about me.
That's exactly what they say about you. That you don't care about the star rating, you care about the offer list.
Glad you brought that up, Muse. So let's go through the offer list. You might want to sit down and take a breath because it's going to take me a second to get through it. LSU, Ohio State, Oregon, Ole Miss, Alabama, Michigan, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Miami, Georgia Tech, Auburn, Southern Cal, Georgia, Clemson, Florida, Vandy, NC State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Texas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Florida State, Penn State, South Carolina, Arkansas, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, Kansas, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Mississippi State, Kansas State, Duke, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Missouri, Tulane, and then a whole bunch of other small schools that don't matter. Bottom line is everybody wanted Deuce Geralds. Awesome player. Explosive, dynamic, disruptive player on the interior of the defensive line. So, everybody wanted him. LSU got him. And this is so significant for the future of the defensive line. As a matter of fact, after Geralds committed, Steve Wiltfong, National Recruiting Director for On3, said point blank, this is how he characterized this LSU defensive line recruiting class right now.
Well, you look at the strength of LSU's class right now. It is on the defensive line. 4 top 100 players committed to the Tigers this cycle. Deuce Geralds, the latest, he joins #1 jumbo athlete Lamar Brown. And you look at the guys that they have in the fold. Richard Anderson rivals #2 defensive lineman. Trenton Henderson, one of the most coveted edge rushers in the country. They landed Darius McKinley yesterday to the fold. And DeAnthony Lafayette recently committed. This is the top defensive line class in the country. It's championship caliber.
And it's not particularly close. Consider this. The 2 edge players you have committed. 5-star Lamar Brown, the #1 edge in the country. 5-star Trenton Henderson, the number 36 overall prospect in the country. On the interior now, you have Richard Anderson, the number 49 overall prospect in the country, the #2 interior defensive lineman. And Deuce Geralds, the number 93 overall prospect, the number 8 interior defensive lineman. And you also have DeAnthony Lafayette and Darius McKinley. Like, this is how it's supposed to look. Do you realize LSU has not had a first-team All-American on the defensive line since Sam Montgomery in 2011? LSU has not had a first-team All-American defensive tackle since Drake Nevis in 2010. Y'all, LSU built its great defenses around Shad Lavallee and Kyle Williams and Marcus Spears and the late Marquise Hill and Claude Roten and Drake Nevis and Michael Brockers and Benny Logan and Sam Montgomery and Barkevius Mingo and the defensive line. It was DBU was all the rage, but they built it through the defensive line. It has been a decade and a half since LSU's had a first-team All-American on the defensive line. Now, look at what next year is going to look like. I mean, we've already talked about this year with all the transfers they've added, in addition to Dominic McKinley a year older, Ahmad Bro a year older, Jacoby and Guillory coming back, bringing in Bernard Gooden, Peyton, Pyburn, Butler, Relaford. They got tons of dudes. They're going to lose a bunch of them after this year. But now you look at next year with Dominic McKinley, former five-star, Ahmad Bro going into his junior year next year. This class of five-stars, Damian Shanklin, who you've got this year, who looks freaking like an Adonis, 6'5", 260 on the edge. All the interior players, Buddy Mathis, Brandon Brown, Zion Williams, like this class. Sadir Mitchell should be back again next year. It's how it's supposed to look. So how did they pull this off with Geralds? I mentioned it was a three-pronged approach. Number one, first and foremost, you have to be able to set the hook with the player and have that emotional connection. That was an easy one here. Gerald's father is from Baton Rouge, went to Scotlandville. He was recruited by Coach O and Frank Wilson to Ole Miss, where he went and played. He was on those two Cotton Bowl teams under Houston Nutt. And Deuce Geralds spent part of his childhood in Baton Rouge, talked after his commitment about actually playing 6U ball with Richard Anderson out of New Orleans. So that was there. He called LSU his dream school from the time he was a kid. So that part was there and was obvious. So that check, right? Frank Wilson's recruiting you. It's a chance to go play for in your hometown. Check. That's all there. The second part of this is the football component had to make sense. And I know I've explained this before, but it bears repeating what Kyle Williams is looking for at defensive tackle. And it's different than Bo Davis. And someone asked, hey, if Bo Davis was still the defensive line coach, would they have gotten Geralds? And I don't know. But the best example that I have given and will continue to give is look at the transfers on the defensive line that you got under Bo Davis and under Kyle Williams. Bo Davis brought Sadir Mitchell here, 6'5", 260. Kyle Williams wanted Bernard Gooden, 6'1", 268. That's the difference. Bo Davis wanted gigantic, space-eating humans. Kyle Williams wants smaller, faster, powerful, explosive dudes that can get upfield and make plays. Deuce Geralds fits the mold of what Kyle Williams wants. He looks almost exactly like Bernard Gooden, his South Florida transfer, who's been unblockable in this camp so far. So that part is check. You check the emotional attachment. You check the football box as well. Then it's got to be the money. And what I was told, some conversations I had, is that Oregon's offer was more than LSU's. But there's an important component, and this is where Austin Thomas and his staff, they are so important in this process. They were able to explain and do a cost-benefit analysis with the Geralds family to make this make sense. Where, yes, maybe Oregon, their top-line number is more. And LSU, by the way, was competitive. Like, LSU can compete with Oregon. Not for 25 prospects in a class. But if they want to go toe-to-toe on 2 to 3 guys that they've identified, Lamar Brown, Deuce Geralds, there's the 2 or 3 guys in the class where you feel like you got to go toe-to-toe with that. They can make it work. You're not going to be able to do it for 25 guys. But when you handpick the ones that you are prioritized, you can make it work financially. But think of it this way. Gerald's family lives in Oregon or in Georgia. What's it going to cost to take 7 plane trips a year or 8 plane trips from Atlanta to Eugene, Oregon? To fly across the country, to stay in hotels, the food, all that sort of the disruption, leaving work, taking off. When you put that down on a spreadsheet, and then you realize if your son's playing at LSU, where, by the way, you have family in Baton Rouge still, and you can drive to any game in the Southeastern Conference, it starts to make more sense. Because even if Oregon's offering a slightly higher top line number. The net is going to be what and what because of all you're going to have to spend to travel to watch him play. So much of this is just the coordinated recruiting effort among the on-field staff, the recruiting staff, and the quote-unquote front office now, putting together a comprehensive plan to show the player and the player's family how and why it makes the most sense. And that's how they were able to land Deuce Geralds. And this is a major coup because beginning of last week, everybody thought he was picking Oregon. And LSU stayed on it. They made the right pitch, and they landed him. Now, they got him in December. He's got to sign, make it official, show up on campus, and stay for 3 or 4 years and be an impactful guy. But if he does, you can start to see how they piece together this defensive front to look like how it used to look when LSU was churning out dominant defenses year after year after year. Hopefully, Deuce Geralds will be a big part of the next one. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.